Not my best angle. Hi friends, happy November. It's been a while since I vlogged. I was busy traveling for the summer. I got sick. I was working on a lot of things. I went to different events. And really there was just a lot of things going on that I wasn't ready to talk about and share. But for this first vlog back, I actually want to address something that was sent in response to one of my emails. So a couple of weeks ago, I sent out an email to my list, and that email was a call to action in the form of a question, which was, are you really going to do it? It was a question that I was asking myself at the time, and I also wanted to ask you. Are you really going to do it? Are you really going to do what it takes to bring your vision or your dreams or your goals to life? And I got a response to that email from somebody who said, there's a lot of things I want to do, but I don't have any money, my credit is crap, and I'm really, really depressed. And she finished that email by saying, but you wouldn't understand that. So restarting the vlog felt like a great time to address that, because that is something that I hear from a lot of people, is that they're going through hard times in their relationships, with their finances, with their work, with their business, with their health. And I wouldn't understand. And the thing is, I understand a lot more than I think people realize. I have been so broke. I almost lost my house, my car. I was 3 months behind on all of my bills to the point that they shut our power off. When I was in my 20s, I paid my mortgage late for over a year. I have a lot of debt, most of which is from my 20s when I made some really, really bad choices for relationships that were unhealthy and toxic and even abusive. And I'm still paying. I'm still paying for those choices. And my credit has gone up and down over the years, but most recently in 2015, which was the year after my loss, trauma and PTSD absolutely flattened me. And I don't think people understand to the degree to which they flattened me and my business. I actually stopped paying a lot of my bills because I didn't have any money. I wasn't making any money, and I couldn't have held a job if I wanted to because my brain was that broken. And depression is something that I dealt with for well over half my life. I was suicidal at a young age. I would sit up every night at the kitchen nook with a knife to my wrist. I took a bunch of pills from the medicine cabinet when I was 12. And I spent most of my 20s as a completely lifeless shell of a person who couldn't feel anything. I was so numb. I was so lost and I was so depressed. So I understand. It's different for all of us. I don't understand what it feels like exactly to be in your shoes, in your situation, but I do understand. Since getting that email, I thought a lot about what do I want to say in response to that, because it's something that I hear a lot of. And I am very careful in how I respond, because I don't want to respond from where I'm at now, which is a very, very different place than where I spent most of my life. Because when I was in that space, there was very little that could be said to me that I would hear. So I'm always very careful and very considerate in what I say to people when I hear that. And I think about what would have been helpful for me when I was there. And what's really come up for me today, sitting with that question, is perspective. And not in the way that we usually talk about that, about, well, it could be worse. You have it much better than somebody else. At least you're not starving in a third world country. All of that is important to consider. Gratitude can do a whole lot for us. And considering the time of year, there's plenty of conversations about gratitude happening. So that's not what I mean when I say perspective. What I'm really talking about is learning how to play the long game. Learning how to see the situation and experience that you're having now as part of a bigger picture. Everything that is happening to you in this moment is necessary for shaping you into the person that you need to be in order to create what it is that you desire to create. And I know from many, many years of personal experience that that is frustrating, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, insanely painful at times. But that doesn't make it any less true. It took me a long time to understand that in order to create what I wanted to create, what was next for me, my big vision, all my goals, I had to be a different person. I had to become the next version of myself. So I would set these big, beautiful goals. I would hold these big, beautiful visions. I thought about all the amazing things that I wanted to do. And when I couldn't make that happen, simply because I set the goal, I would get frustrated and I would give up. What really needed to happen was that I had to walk through a whole lot of different experiences to become the person that I needed to be in order to create what I wanted to create. So sometimes when we set a goal or we have a big vision, life is going to take us on what seems to be one big, hard, challenging detour because we're not ready to create that yet. Are there ways to bypass that process? Absolutely, but not all of the time. We live in the age of the internet, of Amazon 2-day shipping, of instant access and downloads, as well as endless success stories and case studies of people who made shit happen really, really fast. And even for those people who made it happen really fast, they don't talk about how much of a struggle it was and what they went through behind the scenes. They like to paint it as a picture of they had an idea, they worked really hard, things might have been a little challenging, but they turned a corner and voila, everything was amazing. That is not how it happens for most people. Which leads me to the second thing that I would say to you and to my younger self, which is I was 20 years old when I realized that I was building a life that I didn't want. That was 13 years ago. It took 7 or 8 years, 3 different businesses to really start getting traction. Did it have to take that long? Absolutely not. There's a lot of support out there, coaching, tools, programs, books that I didn't even realize existed. But 7 or 8 years to start getting traction. It took another 6 years to get to where I am today. And coming back from my loss, I mean really truly gathering all the wisdom and lessons, doing the deep healing work to get to where I am today. I feel like I'm really truly back and on fire and energized and excited about what comes next. Almost 3 years. There were moments in those 3 years where I had no money at all. I trashed my credit. I was broken. I was hurting. My brain didn't work. But I never stopped. Even if I didn't know what the next step was, I would lay there and I would wonder, what now? What do I do now? The final thing that I would say, which might be annoying because I know that it would have really actually pissed me off when I was younger, is that staying where you are right now is a choice. It is. It is always a choice. That doesn't mean that you can choose to create something different and that will happen overnight. We already covered that. But as long as you are consistently, day in and day out, choosing something different, choosing to show up as a different person, to shift your energy, to practice gratitude, to do what you know needs to be done, to pick yourself back up at the floor every single time that you fall to your knees, to not let things like not having enough money or having debt or having a bad relationship or an unsupportive partner or your credit being trashed, none of those reasons, not letting any of them get in the way of continuing to choose something different, something better. Staying where you are, believing that life is happening to you or that you have it harder than others or that you don't have something that someone else does is a choice. I will talk a lot more about that in upcoming videos because the last 3 years have taught me that more than anything else is that choice is everything. And choice is hard. It is really, really hard, especially when you're at a place that feels impossible and overwhelming. Choosing to show up differently, choosing to take action even though you're so depressed you don't want to get out of bed, choosing to figure out a way to make more money even though you're in debt and you're working all day long and you're so tired from the depression and your credit is shit, choosing to never give up. It's everything. And all of those reasons that we come up with, which we all have, I had them. I had tons of them these last 3 years. My brain didn't work. I was confused and lost. I was in a relationship that was stressful and hard. I had adrenal fatigue. I literally couldn't get myself out of bed. I was so tired. But I'm here because I choose to be here. And I chose day in and day out, hundreds of thousands of times over and over again, I chose to create something different. I chose to acknowledge the challenges and the obstacles and to keep finding a way to move forward anyway. I'm not special. I'm not smarter. I I definitely have not always had more money. I have not always had the support that I have now, or the tools or the resources, but I chose to never give up. In fact, I'm even going to gift you one of my most popular PDFs today, which is how to eliminate all obstacles between you and your goals. There's always a way around it. That is what I have for you today. I am super excited to start vlogging again. There's a lot of really exciting stuff in store for the coming year, and I will be sharing so much of it with you here. Thank you for being here. Lots of love to you.